We've all been there. You get to the gig, start unpacking, and it's not there. Now, you swore you packed it. It was right here in between the set list and the half-drink bottle of water. You know it was. You start praying that the venue has one, or maybe the other band on the bill has an extra. Yeah, that's what you'll do. You'll go up to the guitar player after their set, tell them it was a sick set, and how great their guitar tone was, and how it reminded you of old sock Eric Clapton, and then I'll ask them if I can borrow one of theirs. Oh, wait. I've got one of my emergency kit. So if you've ever played out live before, even a couple of times, most likely you've forgotten something. Now, you can ask anyone who knows me, and they will tell you that I forget a lot. I'm a very forgettable person. That didn't come out how I meant it to come out. But one thing that has helped me over the years is having an emergency kit for gigs. And this is basically something that I take with me everywhere that has very crucial parts of my guitar rig. Now, I'm more of a local artist. I play mainly in the Southwest Ohio region, and rarely do I play outside of that. So this advice in this kit is going to be something that I recommend for kind of weekend warrior or very regional kind of acts. Possibly even small tours. If you have someone handing you your guitar every night, someone else is probably taking care of this kind of stuff. But I hope all guitarists can take something from this. This may also be beneficial for bass players, but, you know, I'm not a bass player, so take that with a grain of salt. So here's my emergency kit, and we're going to go over a couple of best practices before I get into what's inside of here. So first things first, the kit has to be portable. If you have all your stuff spread out amongst different cases, or you have a large road case for this, it's going to be very cumbersome to take it anywhere, and you're going to forget it or not want to take it, and it's going to defeat the purpose. Number two, and along those lines, you want to get in the habit of taking it almost everywhere. Now, certainly if you're going to jam at a buddy's house, or you're just playing a small session at a studio that's going to have all kinds of gear, you don't need to take this. However, if you're going to be playing out anywhere where there's a slight possibility that if you're missing something, it's going to ruin a show, or someone's going to be mad at you because they're paying you for this, then you'll want to have this with you. So honestly, it was easy enough for me to get in the habit that anytime I play anywhere, I take this with me. The last crucial best practice is if it's in this kit, it needs to stay in this kit. You don't want anything in here to be something that you use with your regular rig or you're going to be taking out all the time, because that just increases the chance that you're going to forget something in here, and then your emergency kit will be missing something. So with that in mind, let's take a look at what's in here. Ta-da! Now the first thing I suggest is cables. Is cables? Are cables? All right. It's going to be a long editing session. I have a variety of cables in mind. One of the most important ones is an instrument cable. I couldn't tell you how many times that I've gotten to a place and I've either forgotten a cable or my setup needs one extra cable than what I have. So it's always good to have an extra 1/4-inch guitar cable. Another important thing you may want to remember is patch cables. I've also had shows where a patch cable randomly cut out on me, and it's good to have a couple just laying around so that you can pop them in and replace any that are faulty. And the last big one is a power cable. Now this comes in handy because a lot of things run on these, so having a spare one is always a good idea in case you need one for your guitar amp or your pedal board or even a monitor or something that may be powered and need one of these. The last one's dependent on your setup, but it's a guitar cab cable. This goes from your guitar amp head to your cabinet. I bring these because if I forget mine, then my amp can literally not make sound and I'm in a pickle. So I have an extra cab cable. So the next thing I have is probably the biggest thing in the kit, and I mean that in all sense of the word biggest. It is the most expensive, it's the most important, and it possibly is the biggest thing in the kit, and that is some kind of amp replacement. Now listen, I'm a tube amp guy. I really don't play anything other than tube amps when I play live. However, tube amps are less reliable than other types of amplification, and they are not easy to fix on the fly. Tubes can go out on it, they can pick up radio frequencies and such, and in some cases they're just too loud. Hopefully the venue communicates if they want a silent stage, but it's very possible that you get there and they just don't like the fact that you have an amp. I started packing one of these because I actually went to a show where one of my amps started picking up some white noise because they had like walkie-talkie radio things, and it was so bad, and I unplugged the guitar and everything, and it was literally just the amp was making the noise. So I had to plug my pedal board straight into the PA, and it was one of the worst sounds I've ever heard. So this is to help you avoid that. Now, I don't recommend a full other amplifier. That's just impractical to carry around. It's going to be expensive just to have the backup, and honestly, a lot of the issues that I just named with an amp are going to still be present with the second amp. So what I suggest is you get a small portable digital or pedal board alternative to a guitar amplifier. Now I know this may not get you the exact tone that you want, but remember, we're just trying to survive through this gig that something went wrong with. We're not trying to get immaculate tone. So for this one, I actually don't follow my own rule and I keep it separate. I have a Torpedo 2 Notes Cab M, but I also have it here because I use it for other things outside of the emergency purpose. You literally just told them not to do that. Do as I say, not as I do, I guess. I don't know. So that's why it's in a different box. But ideally, you want something that you can throw in your emergency kit and forget about. So some of the nicer ways to get this done are the Quilter Super Block, the Strymon Iridium, the Milkman, the Amp, and Black Star, I believe, has like an amp to 100. These will all be fantastic replacements for your amp. But I also understand if you don't want to spend over $200 on this, so there are some budget alternatives like the Orange Terror Stamp, the Quilter Phantom Block, and even a Joyo amp in the box should save your butt and get you through the gig if your main amp goes down. So next up are random miscellaneous items that I recommend. First one being guitar strap. There's nothing worse than having to grab a chair because you've forgotten your strap and you got to sit down and do it BB King style. Next, I recommend a headstock tuner. Worst case scenario, your tuner pedal goes out or you have to tune your guitar backstage or something like that. These are really nice to have. A pick tin, if you're like me and you keep your picks in the little special pick pocket in your jeans and you forget to transfer them over and you don't have any other options, it's nice to have a couple of picks available in a tin. If you're a strap lock person, I also recommend you put a couple strap locks in the tin. An extra pack of strings. Listen, I get it. You're probably not restringing the whole guitar at the gig, but if your E string or B string goes out, you can always unpack this and take that one string out and then restring it and you're good to go. And the last thing are miscellaneous items. These are things that aren't necessarily guitar gear, but I highly recommend that you have them. First up is a spare 9-volt battery and a spare 9-volt adapter. The adapter, so if something funky happens with your pedals, you can run it off of this. A 9-volt too, because a lot of pedals run on these, but also acoustic guitars and some other things, so it's not bad to have one of these around. I toss mine in a baggie in case it corrodes or something. It doesn't affect the rest of the gear. Totally optional, I pack an extra pair of headphones in case you use in-ear monitors in your setup, then you will have a spare, because this is one of the things I forget the most for some reason. Totally understand if you don't want to invest in a whole second pair of in-ear monitors, but any kind of headphone should do the trick, because again, we're just trying to survive the gig. Phone charger, kind of random, but it's a good thing to have in here because your phone may be almost dead and you may need it for certain things during the show, so not a bad idea to have one of these. Also not a terrible idea for it to be a fast charger because if you are in this situation, you probably need your phone charged fast. I also highly suggest an extension cord and or power strip. These have been very handy in the past. You wouldn't believe the amount of venues that only have like a handful of outlets or they're in a certain corner and they don't go up to your pedal board. This can help you out. A multi-tool or something that has like screwdrivers in it, probably not a bad idea either. Certainly this could help with taking the backs off pedals or other equipment that may need a screwdriver. You'll probably never need this, but it's nice to have it. And last but not least, business cards. That sounds stupid and old school, but you would not believe the amount of people that have trouble finding me on the internet. But it's always good to just hand these to somebody real quick and they have all your information. So the last thing I've got is, what do I even put all this stuff in? Now you'll notice that I've got one of these boxes. These are like a tactical kind of case. Pelican is one of the most popular brands for this kind of case, but I'll tell you right now, they are very expensive. I go with Apache style cases from Harbor Freight. They're about half the price, and for what you're going to need them for, they'll hold up just as well. I don't know, unless you plan on running over your emergency kit with a truck or throwing it in a river. And even then, I think it's technically designed to withstand that, but I wouldn't try it. Also, on a side note, I like the orange color because it's real easy for me to look across everything that I'm bringing and tell whether or not I have the emergency kit in there or not. But if that's too bulky and not your cup of tea, I completely understand. For years, I carried stuff in a backpack. Backpacks are very easy. They just kind of sling over your shoulder, throw it in the car, and call it a day. And you most likely have a backpack sitting around. Now, for your emergency kit, because you're going to be taking it all over the place, I highly recommend you put your information all over it. You may even want to stick it in places that you don't think people will look, because then if anyone grabs it and tries to say it's theirs, well, you now have your information in it. And you also want to make it something that you can probably just leave in your car or trailer and not even need to bring it into the venue unless you find that you've forgotten something and need to go get it. So a couple things to sum the guitar emergency kit up. If there's anything that I've named that you think you absolutely will not need, or there's something that I've forgotten and you're like, I use that every time, feel free to add to it. I'm a musician on YouTube, not a cop. The other thing is it's totally fine to buy affordable gear. I get that financially it's going to hurt to buy a bunch of stuff just to stick it in a case and possibly never use it. I think I used all the battery on that. Hey, it's me. Again. So I may have forgot this thing where my cameras only record for like 30 minutes before they shut off, and I was just talking and no video was being recorded. So to sum it up, basically, You can use budget stuff, order patch cables from Amazon and, power cords from Harbor Freight. It doesn't really matter. Just test them when you get them in. You don't have to spend a fortune on this. You just have to survive the gig. Also, I just realized that by the time I caught on and started it back up, it was darker in the room for some reason. So, sorry, it's been amateur hour today. And the most important part, as I stated before, make sure you're in the habit of bringing it, because the emergency kit can only save your butt if you actually have it on you. So I hope that helps, and good luck out there. Need an emergency kit for my video shooting skills, my goodness.